So it's patch time for Marvel's Avengers today. This one came a bit out of the blue, to be honest, and I'm happy to see it came before Christmas because it's a patch that actually addresses a pretty big issue. I'll cover that when we actually go over the patch notes, but I'm fairly certain this is the patch that when CD Phil was on stream last week and he was talking about how we would have a patch that would kind of keep us interested over the Christmas period while the developers on holiday. I'm fairly certain it is going to be this particular patch, so I think this will be the last one of the year. But we're going to run over the patch notes, and as mentioned, there's some nice information in there. We're then going to have a look at what I'm 99.9% certain will be the actual Kate Bishop exotics that will drop from the Mega Hive. Because without spoiling too much of the patch, that's one of the issues that's now been addressed, so you can go in and start farming your Mega Hive, and I'm fairly certain we have actually seen what the exotics from there will look like. And then at the end we've got a nice little Easter egg stroke teaser to do with MODOK as well. But let's jump in and have a look at the patch notes first, and as always, if you're enjoying the content, take the time to hit the like, share and subscribe button, and leave a comment below as well. That's really important because it helps drive engagement. We start off here then looking at some new gear. I believe this is what CD Phil was talking about. I mentioned it earlier on in the video, but he was saying something to keep us going over the Christmas period. So let's have a look at it and see if it will be enough. So it's new minor artifacts have been introduced, 2 ISO 8s and 2 non-stones. So the ISO 8s have a chance of dropping from drop zones, while all the new minor artifacts have a chance of dropping from DNA chests and from the first completion of the Super Adaptoid fight. It's not clear if it's the first time you ever do it or through multiple times. If you can hear it tapping in the background right now, guinea pigs are going crazy in the water bottle trying to tap out some kind of Morse code, so apologies for that. But just to continue, the first one we look at is Cosmic Infused ISO 8. So it's new reactive supernova perk which causes an explosion upon taking damage. That could be decent because if you think of the perks that are normally on ISO, they aren't that good at all, so it all depends on how much damage it actually does. But reactive perks on the like of Cap or Hulk can happen very often. You've got the ISO 8 of Cosmic Affinity, new reactive Cosmic Surge perk which gives a cosmic buff upon taking damage. For builds that have been lucky enough to get Cosmic in them, that could be a nice source of extra damage because again you don't normally get it from your minor artifacts. Looking at the non-stone of the Wasteland, new lethal Cosmic Surge perk which gives a cosmic buff upon killing an enemy. Once again, if you've got cosmic gear that would be great. And then non-stone of Cosmic Nullification. So new vital Cosmic Aura and Cosmic Protection perks which gives a cosmic buff when reviving allies and grants a passive cosmic resistance buff respectively. I'm not sure if any enemies actually do cosmic damage, but it could be for later content when the Kree eventually come out. So we've got what looks to be a series of fixes, mainly focused on Kate's campaign. I didn't actually have any issues with it myself, I was lucky enough there. The only one I'm really going to read out of this list, you can pause it if you want to go through them, but the only one I really read out is that Kate Bishop's harm room can now be replayed. I've seen a lot of people bringing it up, but honestly, are you going to go in and replay a harm room over and over? Probably not. So again, yeah, for this part. A few more changes to multiplayer and matchmaking. Once again, nothing massively interesting here, so if you want to read the whole thing, feel free to pause it. But let's jump on to the next section of the patch notes. We then have a few changes on the art and animation side of things. You've got Kate's Mjolnir interaction in Thor's room now has audio, but it's a one-time deal, so unfortunately a lot of people will have missed that there. Skipping past a few down to the more interesting ones. Fixed a rare issue where Kate's arms were not visible during the cinematic in Substation Zero after completing masks. I didn't get that myself, but I really would have liked to get that because it sounds pretty odd. And then you've got this absolute horrifying one that I'll show you a screenshot of in a second. Fixed an issue where Captain America was missing facial textures during the cinematic in Substation Zero after completing Young Offender. Here's what it actually looked like. Absolutely horrific. Cap seems to have the worst of luck when it comes to facial bugs and animations because he's had quite a few. But that was the art and animation changes. Let's check out the next section. So we've now got the combat notes. Following on from that, we have some notes about gear, and they are the more interesting ones. But you've got the fact with Kate, the first line there pertains to when she would actually go invisible occasionally. I had it a few times myself, wasn't a major issue, but that's now been fixed. She can no longer enter an unintended flight mode, which was hilarious. She would hit a T-pose and start flying about, so it's a bit of a pity we can't do that. And then you've got fixed an issue with Kate's explosive arrow would not have a trajectory path line. I found it really hard to aim, so hopefully this helps out with that, because the moment explosive arrow feels pretty useless. I'm not going to read out the rest of them here, but we don't have any nerfs or anything like that to Kate, and we've not actually done any nerfs really in any characters yet, so that is it's good in a way that we don't have to worry about that. But let's have a look at the gear now, and as mentioned, this is where it gets more interesting. So we have the minor artifacts that we talked about earlier on, a bit underwhelming. Then we have the Mega Hives are now properly rewarding exotic gear for Kate. And when I actually look at these patch notes, I was quite excited about them. When I was reading through, they're actually a little bit underwhelming, but the reason I think I'm excited is that we can now go in and farm the Mega Hive with Kate and get some exotic gear for that. For me, that's all I really wanted in a patch, to be honest, and we managed to get that before the Christmas holidays, so I'm happy with that and get her geared up even more. But that's all the patch notes. Let me show you the exotic gear that will be dropping from the Mega Hives, or we're fairly certain will be dropping from it. So this is your exotic set here. Now it came from the stream that they actually done of Kate, that was run about 2 weeks or so ago. CD Phil actually sneakily showed all this off. And it looks to be this is equivalent of the agent set. So the agent set at the moment is a very nice one. It drops from the elite hives, and generally with the content you have your legendary sets that drop in the elite hives are generally the ones that translate to the Mega Hive. So you've got Sharpshooter's Edge, this particular one here, Archer's Haste, increased firing time for Razor and Disruptor arrows. You've then got a status effect on a particular attack, and then Perfect Destruction, so 20% increased damage, stun damage and status effect damage of any perfect draw shot. That could be pretty nice, but I'll need to test that one out. Here's slot 2 here, pretty niche, not sure if I would use it at all. So it's Perfect Die, the first perk, quickly land 3 headshots in a row using Perfect Draw in order to activate Perfect Die for 6 seconds. While active, Perfect Die makes every ranged attack a crit attack. I think there's no chance even trying to do that in console or controller. It'll be for PC players on a mouse that can aim that good to do it. You've then got a status effect on a random attack, and then you have Disruptor Deconstructor, that's hard to say actually. So with this one, enemies affected by Disruption Arrow take 30% more status, stun and critical damage. I'll need to test that because the Disruptor perk on the slot 4 of the agent set is actually a lot better than it sounds, so we need to test this one out. The slot 3 is Sharpshooter's Bodysuit. This one, the first perk, I better be careful how I say this, it's Perfect Pick. Make sure I say that correctly. Increase the window of time needed to land a perfect draw by 20%. Archer's Resolve, reduce reaction severity of enemy attacks and gain 25% damage reduction while aiming, just making it easier to aim. And then Blink Effector, increase the distance and reduce the use cause of Blink Dash by 15%. Could be alright for getting about, but not massively fussed for this piece. We then have the exotic equivalent of what I believe is possibly the best item in the game. So this would normally be your Archer's Charm, but in this instance it's Sharpshooter's Charm. So the interesting perk is a Disruptor extension. It increases the duration of disruption effect on enemies by 3 seconds and reduced enemy defense by 30%. But that reduced enemy defense works out at roughly 130% additional damage the way it calculates it. You also get Warp Extensor, so you gain an extra Warp Arrow charge on the legendary equivalent of this, which drops from the elite hives. The third perk is random, but this one looks to be set, so it's Perfect Reactor. Defeating an enemy with a perfect draw shot restores Quantum Reactor intrinsic energy, heroic energy and 5% health. Looking at this, I think the actual legendary would be better than this, because on the legendary you could get the Berserker perk, which is for example a damage buff on 16 hits, which Kate will get really quick with the scatter shot. So actually, when I think about it, once again I was excited about farming gear, but there's nothing I don't think I'd maybe go for. Maybe the slot 2 at a push, but other than that I'm not quite sure if I would use the other items there. Let me know what you think of them in the comments below. But let's now just finish up with this quick MODOK teaser we have.
Commander Hill filled me in on the MODOK problem. Boy, like the world needed more than one of him. Anyway, we think we've got a lead that might point to another one of his nightmare clones. But we need additional intel to fill in some blanks.
So that there, as you can probably tell, is very strongly suggesting that the MODOK villain sector is actually in the works. In fact, we've got voice lines, hopefully won't be too far off. It'd be nice to fight other bosses rather than Taskmaster and Abomination. So overall, it looks like a decent enough patch. Kate's exotics aren't blowing me away, but they did come from a stream, so hopefully they've been changed a little bit since that particular stream. And new ISO 8s and non-stones actually look like they could be pretty powerful as well. But do let me know what you think of the patch in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.